92 WICB, Sean here with you. You know, one of my favorite bands on the station and my favorite Australian band, hands down, is Atlas Genius, which is why I'm honored to have Keith Jeffery on the phone, lead singer of Atlas Genius. Keith, how's it going, man?
Doing great. How you doing, Sean?
Absolutely fantastic. Truly an honor to be talking with you. Huge fan, and the station's a huge fan. What a year for Atlas Genius. Your latest album, Inanimate Objects, it's gained a lot of momentum, getting a lot of airplay. When you were making it, did you have a feeling it would be this successful?
When you're writing, you can't allow yourself to think about anything else but the actual songs. Like as soon as you find yourself thinking about, hey, this could be a hit, or anything like that, I think that's when you start to lose the plot and the music suffers. So, I mean, you have moments where you allow yourself to smell the roses as you're recording. If there's a song that's particularly good, you can indulge yourself for a minute, but you do the best you can, and then you put the music out, and then people like yourself to decide if they like it or not.
Big U.S. tour coming up for Atlas Genius. You're kicking it off next week, actually, March 31st.
Yeah, we're really excited about that.
And Skylar Grey is touring with you. Is this your first time working with Skylar?
It is. We haven't met yet, so I think the first show will be when we get to meet, but. It's what I like about this tour is that, normally we've toured with bands who are pretty similar to what we do, and it's really kind of a pretty diverse tour as far as like Skylar does their thing. It's very different to us, and I'm excited for that because it's a bit more. There'd be a little bit more variety potentially on this tour than say a normal indie rock tour that we've been on.
92 WICB, Keith from Atlas Genius on the phone with me right now. So you've toured a lot with other bands and artists as well, of course, besides Skylar Grey. Do you have a favorite that you've toured with so far?
We've been pretty lucky. I'd say the majority of the bands we've toured with have been incredible people as well as incredible bands. Our first big American tour was with a band called Silver Sun Pickups, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they were so incredible to us because it was our first full American tour back in, I think, 2012. And so we hadn't really even been around the country, let alone toured it. So they took us under their wing, like big brothers and sister, because one of them obviously is a female. So that they were incredible to us. So that was such a fond memory. I mean, the fact, because we could have conversely had a terrible, you could have had a band that was their size that could have been full of, ego and attitude, but luckily they were not that at all. So people are generally great on the road.
So the first time you came to the U.S., that was who you toured with, so they really showed you around?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot. I mean, it was a baptism of fire, as you can imagine, going from Australia, having never really been to America, to all of a sudden you're hitting every city, major city, and even some of the smaller cities in the country. And so it was interesting to see how they handled things, how they handled the press, and how just the day-to-day existence of being on the road.
And that's one of the coolest things about being a great group and touring around in many countries around the world and getting to see a bunch of things and making great music along the way.
I mean, it's one of the best jobs that I can imagine. I really can't think of anything else that would compare. I mean, even you look at a lot of actors who a lot of people think wouldn't it be great to be an actor. But you look at guys like Johnny Depp, and I feel like all that Johnny Depp's ever wanted to do is really just be in a rock band. Like as good as his job is, so I feel like doing all he does is pretty special.
It's true. You grow up, everyone wants to be a rock star, and you get to live it, and it's really incredible. And we can hear it in the music, by the way. It's amazing the music you produce. So we can hear that you are passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a labour of love. I mean, that's the thing about most musicians is you do it not really. No one does music for the money. I mean, if you want to get rich, it's much easier just to go and get a law degree or become a doctor or something like that. But as a musician, you don't do it for that. Well, at least I hope most people don't do it for that because it's pretty damn difficult to become a millionaire as a musician. But it's such a rewarding thing. Like I remember hearing a quote once that music is its own reward. I mean, the work, being on stage and creating music with your friends is it's very few things compared to that.
And that's one of the best things to hear an artist say. It's really nice to hear, and it's encouraging to hear the passion behind it.
Yeah, because I mean, we live in it's a very interesting time with music. I mean, a lot of the biggest music is very manufactured, and it's been like that for decades, I guess. But you look at a lot of top 40. There is a system, there's a machine there that has some very talented people in it. But it's a very different thing to what we strive to do, and I think the bands that we tend to tour with, like, it's not really about a formula. It's about expressing yourself, and I think that sadly I think that lacks in a lot of popular music at the moment.
Right, and a lot of bands do have a formula. Like you mentioned, a lot of top 40 stuff has a formula, and people just produce. But there's also a lot of artists that are trying to come out in the alternative music scene and make great music like Atlas Genius. What advice would you give to those aspiring artists?
Well, I think that following a trend is probably the worst thing you can ever do, because if you look at the music you look at the bands that crossed over from the alternative world into the pop world in the last few years, like bands like Mumford & Sons or Coldplay, or they really paved their own way. There was nothing. I mean, nobody was doing what Mumford & Sons were doing on top 40 before they came along.
Right.
And I think that they had a much better chance of standing out because they were doing that. They were doing a great version of what it is that they do. And had they tried to follow anything else, I think that you just get lost in the noise. And I think that's the mistake you see more often than not with a lot of bands, young bands. Is that okay? Well, this is really popular right now, and I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. But by the time you get your band up to the right level, you've written the songs, etc., that the trend has moved on. That from what it was you were focusing on. So I think that's why you shouldn't really ever try and second guess. Great
advice. Don't follow a trend. Do your own thing, and you will find it eventually, I guess, is kind of what you're getting at there.
That's exactly right, yeah.
91.7 WICB. Keith from Atlas Genius on the phone with me right now. And so this tour that you're going on with Skylar Grey, that goes until the end of April. Do you have any further tour plans after that, or are you taking a break?
Yeah, we do. No, we do. We've got a couple of days. I think it's like 4 days at the end of the tour. So we need to try and rest as hard as we can in those 4 days, and then we head off. We have a show in New York, I think, early in May, and then we have a bunch of festivals around the country. We're doing Bottle Rock, I think, on the 22nd of September up in Napa Valley. There's a bunch of festivals coming out, which we're really excited about. Because the thing about festivals, like the name suggests, there's a celebration normally with it. Whereas when you're on a tour, it's more, you're playing every day, whereas a festival is like it's a one-off experience, So we have a bunch of festivals coming up, and then I think probably some touring again later in the summer.
Do you enjoy the festivals more or the tours more?
They're both good. It's a different beast. And you're playing to huge crowds. I mean, like some of those festivals, it might be 20 or 30,000 people, as opposed to a club show which might be 1,000 people or something like that. So, they're both enjoyable, but very different.
What's really neat about Atlas Genius is it's you and your brother Michael. Even your other brother Stephen was in the band a few years ago. What's it like working with family?
It's probably like you would imagine. I mean, there are certainly times when you know each other too well, so you can press each other's buttons in a less constructive way. But the flip side is that you do understand each other, and there is that deep trust with family. At least there is for us, where I know that regardless of whether Mike and I might disagree on something, that we're generally working for the same cause. Whereas I think if you're in a band with the typical situation is you're in a band with 3 or 4 other people that aren't family members, and so sometimes their levels of commitment may not be the same, which I'm sure must be incredibly frustrating.
So before I let you go, anything next for Atlas Genius? Anything big coming up?
Well, we have Stockholm. Obviously, just came out a few weeks ago, which we're really proud of. So we're working on a video for that, which we haven't set a date for that yet, but that'll be out soon. There's a bunch of touring. And we've already started writing a bunch of new stuff for the new album. So, I mean, album 3, although I have no idea when album 3 will come out.
But it's in the works.
It's in the works, yeah.
That's all we like to hear. Good music being produced, and Inanimate Objects out now. Recommend everyone check that out. And tour information, you can get that on atlasgenius.com. Keith from Atlas Genius, thanks so much for coming on WICB. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much, man. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you, Keith. See you later.
See you later.
We steal the molecules from the dead. We